Hey, Facebook. So this is the third time we've been able to be together today. I think each time I've maybe hit on something different. So it wasn't intentional. It just started getting a little bit chilly. So I then threw on the hair infested pullover because I'm a dog mom. So I've got a white dog and a black dog. So no matter what, I am covered in dog hair. If you're with me on that, throw me a comment and be like, yep, proud dog mom here. And I'm also covered in hair. Um, so I'm so excited to have my good friend, Dr. Leslie Hewitt, with me today. Leslie was the past president of the California Chiropractic Association, which is a behemoth organization when you look at the size of California. And she did an unbelievable job there at the helm of the Chiropractic Association, has since sold her practice and is now living her dream life in Florida. And I'm super excited to have you join in the conversation that we were having offline, which was all about community and what happens when we try to fit in. So Leslie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me, Dr. Barbara. I always love spending time with you.
I know. We have a really good time together. We always forget to hit broadcast, start broadcast, and we have this whole conversation before. And so I'm sitting here staring at the blue button and clicked it for today. So catch everybody up to speed. You were in California, and then what's happened to now you're in Florida, and then let's talk about fitting in.
Okay, well, I was in California for 23 years. I had a beautiful practice, and I sold it last year to a beautiful female doctor, and she is rocking it. I mean, she's absolutely crushing it. She's doing such a great job.
Yay.
And so my guy, Roy, was commuting across the country the entire time we were together. His work is on the East Coast. So since I sold the practice, I said, you know, we're both beach people. We need to be by the ocean. So let's go take a look at Florida. And we started looking for houses. We bought a house in November of last year. So we've been living here since then. I've taken the entire, 2019 year off, although I'm still the past president of the California Chiropractic Association. So I fly back for their board meetings. But I'm starting to realize that Florida's my place. Florida's my place. So speaking about fitting in, I was fitting in California and doing everything I could possibly do to fit in there. And, Brené Brown in her PhD in vulnerability says the opposite of belonging is fitting in. So I was busy fitting in the whole time I was in California and being very careful and mindful and politically correct. I was always trying to be politically correct, but, I did put my foot in my mouth quite a few times while I was there and got into some trouble and got my wrist slapped. And now that I'm here in Florida, I don't think that's going to happen. I really feel like I'm going to belong here. I love the weather. I love the humidity and sunshine. I mean, I'm a beach girl. I've got a pool in the backyard. So I'm looking forward to a new life here in Florida. So we'll see what's next.
Very cool. And I'm with you, Les. I think it's so imperative to live in a place that you love. I mean, it's true. We can choose happiness no matter where we are. I'm not suggesting that you can't be happy no matter where you're planted, but when given the opportunity, when given the choice, be in an environment that feeds you, that the people who are around you have similar likes and interests to you, that when you look out your windows, you're just happy. That's how I feel like in Alaska too. It just brings me so much joy to live here. So I'm thankful every day that God moved our family from Michigan to Arizona to Alaska, and by His grace, we'll get to be here for a long time. So let's jump in more to, are you striving to fit in and yet feel so not in? Trying so hard to be a part of a group because maybe it's the end thing, or to be a part of an organization, whether it's locally in your town, in your state, as a national organization, yet even when you're there, you don't feel like you're part of it because you don't really belong. You're fitting in. Let's take a deeper dive in that, because I think that's something that a lot of us struggle with is I just don't fit in. I had a conversation when I was speaking at ChiroFest with a female chiropractor who said, it's just safer for me in the shadows, but that's not who I am. I'm not a shadows person. So what's your experience, and what bit of advice do you have for those watching?
Well, a really good book to read by Brené Brown is Dare to Lead. And Dare to Lead talks about her PhD in vulnerability. And for the first time in my life, I'm stepping into vulnerability. It literally was the scariest place for me to go. And you mentioned shadow. Wow. I mean, for me to step into vulnerability actually raises some of my shadow. And in Dare to Lead, Brené Brown says the opposite of belonging is fitting in, and it'll wear you down. It'll burn you out. And it's a lot of work just trying to fit in. So Dare to Lead is a great book. And just to do a little deeper dive on that, what I discovered reading that book is leadership is a great way to be a game changer. So if you're trying to fit in, I highly recommend you join something. And for me, I always said the California Chiropractic Association was the only game in town in that state really doing the work for chiropractors, just to sort of segue to our chiropractic tribe. They're doing a great job. And it's a struggle. It's a struggle trying to be in an organization right now, especially in chiropractic, because as you know, Barbara, we're getting hit from the left, from the right, from the rear. We're getting hit straight on. And I just highly recommend that you read Dare to Lead, because the one thing that I would say, trying to fit in myself, is I decided that rather than fitting in, I was going to step up in leadership and be a game changer. And that's what I think needs to happen in chiropractic in general.
Be a game changer.
Be a game changer. And you've got to step up in leadership. And it is a straight up learning curve. You're going to make mistakes, and you're going to try and fit in to the organization's way. And I just highly recommend that you get in and start looking for the problems that need solutions, because that's what I feel was my biggest learning curve in trying to fit in, was stepping up in leadership. And then, the narrative and the conversation with other leaders is a completely different conversation. And that's when I stopped fitting in. Just so you know, I stopped fitting in when I started realizing that I was in a room with leaders having a different conversation, and I realized they were all having the same experience.
Go explain more. What do you mean? A different conversation from what? Than was happening outside of closed doors, or what are you speaking of?
Yeah, you've got to get in those closed doors. You've got to get at the table, whether it's with an association, chiropractic, leadership, whatever it is that you're doing. Find a way to get into leadership in some way and hang out with the other people that are trying to change the rules. And I promise you, the conversation changes when you get inside those rooms and start having those conversations. And that's when I really realized this is where I don't have to fit in anymore, because they're looking for new ideas, change agents, people that are outside of the box. A lot of these groups are looking for new language, inclusive narrative, behaviors that are going to take them out of the rut that they're in.
Yeah, I love a change agent. I said to somebody today on a coaching call, like, I coach players, I don't coach fans. If you want to just sit in the bleachers and do your clapping and do your booing. There's nothing I can do to help you. If you want to get on the field and make plays, and that means we're going to screw up sometimes. Sometimes we're going to lose yardage. Sometimes we're going to gain yardage. But I coach players, like people who want to be in the mix and roll up their sleeves and get dirty and risk being wrong for the purpose of being right? And for moving change forward, for moving the narrative forward. So I love that idea. And you know, it can be scary. I get it. If you're watching this now or watch it later and you're like, but I don't even know where to begin. I'll tell you where to begin, honestly. October 26th, the Women's Chiropractic Leadership. Like, there's a reason it's part of our name. It's Leadership Summit. And really, I'm rebranding, and it's going to be called the Leadership Boot Camp. Like, it's 1 day intensive, a deep dive with all of us, and it's only going to be great if you come. The Women's Chiropractic Leadership Boot Camp, October the 26th at Life University. Dr. Leslie is one of our speakers, and she is going to be teaching you, like, not theory on leadership, like leadership skills. Let's talk for a second about how big the California Chiropractic Association is. Like, when you and I did this, when you were in that role, I remember you saying, like, the California's like the state's economy is like the 5th in the world or top 10 in the world, like size wise. And then to take, like, okay, then we take this association that's a part of this mega economy. It's a pretty big role. So what are some of the lessons that you learned as a leader in that gigantic playing field?
Well, I learned that you really do have to be authentic. You've got to be willing to take a risk. And like you said, you've got to be a player. You've got to show up. And even if you don't know what you're doing, you've got to show up and you've got to practice. I mean, you know, just the whole idea of being in practice as a chiropractor, when you're doing yoga, it's a practice. When you do rituals and habits daily, behaviors are a practice. So practicing leadership doesn't mean that you have to be there now. Just start practicing some behaviors. And if you don't know what those behaviors are, start hanging out with leaders. And, you know, just to do a shout out to your conference, Barbara, I mean, what an incredible opportunity for women to come and hang out with leaders. And what I love that Barbara is doing, rather than speakers talking from the stage like a fire hose of information where you just sit there, she's doing interactive workshop, boot camp style. And so, for example, she asked all us speakers to submit a workbook. So you have access to a workbook that you get to work on before you even get to the conference. And you're going to do that work. Then you're going to come to the conference and it's going to be game on, you know, bring your game face. So for example, I am going to be doing a deep dive into your innate behaviors. And you're going to come away from my workshop knowing the 3 words that are going to guide your life for the rest of your life. Everything you do, you are going to be coming from your innate virtues and your innate intelligence. And the workbook actually walks you through it before you even get to the conference, for example. And then we're going to spend 45 minutes doing a real deep dive boot camp workshop interactive. You know, I'm going to be walking amongst you, having a conversation. You're going to leave the room knowing exactly what guides your life. And it's not learned behavior. It's actually innate. You came onto the planet, into the planet. You were born with these gifts, these genius, brilliance words. And just to share, I am committed to innocence, harmony, and trust. Those are my 3 innate gifts that I bring to my business, to my relationships, my friendships, and my family. And they show up everywhere. So, for example, innocence, you mentioned that you're a dog mom. that touched my innocence virtue, because I love puppies and kittens, and I love sweet things. I love, and what that does is it brings the child out in me. So I love hanging out with sisters and brothers that have a childlike way of being, and we can giggle and play. And then harmony, I love to bring sacred space and tranquility and peace to whatever I do. And then trust. I trust God. I trust my divine purpose on the planet. I trust that whatever I do is actually coming from God crumbs. It comes from my innate intelligence. It comes from the Holy Spirit, my intuition, my gut, whatever you want to call it. That's my trust is so authentic that I tend to dive into things and just trust that it's going to work out. So I share all that with you, Barbara, and with your listeners, because you are creating an incredible conference. I've been waiting my whole life for a conference like this, where I get to hang out with sisters in a very interactive, sacred space where we're going to dive in, and the workshop that you'll be doing with me, I'm going to be taking you into your shadow as well, because part of your innate comes from really being willing to experience your shadow, and we're going to do it in a very safe way together as women. And what it's going to do is it's going to really help you to discover where you in your life feel violated. And where you feel violated will give you clues to your innate virtues as well. So we will be diving into some shadow, and we'll be coming out on the other end. All of you will be coming out with a discovery of what your real, true, innate intelligence is. And it's going to be a game changer for you. So bring your game face, but you've got to come to this conference, because you're hanging out with leaders that have behaviors, rituals, and ceremony that we're going to share in these workshop environments.
Yeah, and the workshop environment for all of you, we're not separated into other rooms. Like, I honestly, I don't like going to conferences where you have to pick and choose. Like, Leslie's on at the same time, Barbara is on at the same time as somebody else is on. It's like, I want to go see everybody. And like, huge kudos to Dr. Paul Reed at Chiro Fest, and Dr. Matt Hubbard, who was the MC, who kept it going, but yet there were lots of speakers where we didn't have to divide into a bunch of different rooms. We all got to stay together as a unit. And obviously, Billy D does that at CalJam, where everyone's collective together instead of spread out all over. So Les, when we go through that part of at the boot camp of going through being violated, will women be able to pinpoint that? And then will you be giving them the steps of, now that I have that discovery, what do I do?
Yes. So it's in the workbook that I send to you. So I really encourage everybody to sign up for this conference. You'll get the workbook, and I highly recommend that you fill out the paperwork, even if you're not super clear on how to fill it out. It's pretty straightforward, but you're going to come with the workbook already filled out. And then what I'm going to do is facilitate you into the shadow and into some places in your life that you've already experienced. And we're actually going to explore some of the moods, emotions, and vulnerabilities that you've experienced. And it is going to be open interaction. So I love that we're not going to be splitting up into different groups, that we're all going to be together, because my experience of doing workshops like this is something magical happens in the room. It becomes a container where we start holding space for each other so that you're able to go into a deep dive that you've never been able to do before. And what you're going to do is you're going to actually be hearing other women's stories that may open doors for you. And
Yeah.
I want to just make this disclaimer. If you don't feel like sharing, you don't have to. So it's not one of those environments where you're going to be forced to share. You can be the type of woman that sits back and soaks it all in and just allows all the other women's stories to heal you. So you get to choose whether you share or whether you enjoy the experience. So that's what we're going to be doing.
And I do love that we're all putting together a workbook, because how many times do you go to a conference and you're so excited, and then Monday comes and you're like, it was all really good, but I have no idea how to implement any of it. Like, it was either over my head or I'm too busy. It's not the recipe of how do I take these ideas and put them into action. And I'm excited to do this work, all of us together, because so many times huge gains in our lives are from a small breakthrough. Like, there was just a logjam of a way in which you were being violated that you didn't know about, that now you bring light to it, it opens it up, and it's like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that's what's been holding me back. And to be able to do that, like Les said, in a safe container. Like, I will be going through a pledge that we're all going to take with each other before we get started in the day, that it's safe, that like what we do together doesn't leave the room, so that there can be that vulnerability, and that we all do show up. Because what happens in this kind of environment, if we all don't show up, there's a suck, right? There's a bit of energy that leaves the room when we all don't play full out. And so I will ask everyone when we start the day to, like, you're going to be there, let's just get it on. And I'm confident there are going to be so many breakthroughs from that day. And I'm looking forward to my own. Like, please don't come to this boot camp thinking that we, as the speakers, think that we've got it all figured out. We don't. We need you there in that space as much as you need us there. And that's the truth. That all of us together, that's when we're strongest. That's when we have the most power. That's when the great things happen. So Les, as we wrap this up, what final words do you have to those who are watching now, who will watch later?
Well, you pretty much said it all right there. Is, as a speaker, you're also the student. Because, for myself, I feel like I'm super vulnerable when I put myself on stage and when I present myself and say, hey, I'm going to share some information. It's the ultimate in vulnerability for me to share what I've been working on. And then when I put it out to the audience or to the room, they get to have an opportunity to interact with me. And for me, it's like complete disclosure. I feel exposed, I feel vulnerable. And when I get into a room or an event like what you've created, Dr. Barbara, it actually is a container where I go full out more than I have before. And when I shared at the very beginning of this call that there were times when I was fitting in, it's because I never felt completely safe. So I had to censor myself and hold myself back. I'm looking forward to getting to your event and not holding back. So what I would share is, ladies, you've got to come out to this. This is going to be an event where you get to hang out with women in a very collaborative environment that's going to be safe. And what I have discovered is women are healthier when they hang out with other women. And it's what I think is, a lot of women are expansive and collaborative and love to connect. It's our primal brain function to be gatherers. We love to gather. And I think a lot of women are living in their own inadequacy. And I always say it's like having shrink wrap. You want to expand and yet you shrink. And so this is going to be one of those events where you're going to expand in a space and you're going to get to explore your expansion in a sisterhood that is going to help you discover your truth and your leadership. And my last words are this: we need more women in leadership, because you bring something to the game that is collaborative, kind, compassionate, nurturing. And I would say a lot of you women out there have grit like I've never experienced before. And we need you.
Absolutely. And Elena and Veronica, hey, ladies, if you don't have your tickets yet, you two specifically, get your tickets. We want you both there. You both have amazing skills to step up and be leaders. And please know, I have every intention, and you know, that was one of the reasons I selected the speakers this year that I did, is we have every intention of this just getting bigger and bigger. And so we want to see the women who want to step up. We want to see those who are really engaged and interested. And I need speakers next year. So if you're someone who that is a part of your heart, that's a part of your makeup, that you would also like to be doing more professional speaking, come. I promise you, I will not tap you on the shoulder if you don't participate. If you don't at least show up and be active, those are the people who I know catch the mission, right? Those are the women that I know want to move this forward. So please join us, the Women's Chiropractic Leadership Boot Camp, October the 26th at Life University. Again, it is going to be an event like you haven't been to before. And I want to do a shout out. Tiffany Russell, she said, "Leslie, your hair looks gorgeous." I agree. And I'm super excited. This is the first time I'll get to meet Tiffany face to face. So she is a very active member in our boot camp. I'm just going to share her story real quickly for all of you. You know, when she joined the boot camp, but she was kind of living a little bit more in the shadows, and this year spotted some open ground that she was like, you know what? I'm going to build my future office there. No more renting. I'm going to eventually build my office there. And that girl made it happen in like record time. And now is a landowner, commercial landowner, will be building a commercial building. And I couldn't be more proud of you, Tiff. So I'm super excited to celebrate with you, and so thankful that you'll be there. So Veronica and Elena, grab your tickets, ladies. We will all be together. So Leslie, thank you so much. I really appreciate you joining me today. And for all of you who are watching, do us a favor, please. Be a part of our mission already and share this. There is a chiropractic sister on your page that doesn't know this event is even going on. So I'm going to ask you to just click share and give her the opportunity to be with all of us October the 26th, Life University Women's Chiropractic Leadership Boot Camp. Leslie, thank you so much. I love and appreciate you. And to all of you, have a wonderful evening.
Goodbye.
Goodbye,
everyone.